Welcome, welcome, welcome. Glad to see that you're here today. Welcome to my YouTube account. And I just wanted to get started right away with what I told you that we're going to work on. And we're going to work on this book here, The Keys to the Kingdom, which I renamed to The Keys to Happiness. The Keys to Happiness. So the first key that we're going to actually work on is the key number one, which is forgiveness. And I know we always talk, a lot of people talk about forgiveness and what it takes for forgiveness. But I always say you can't give what you don't have. So if you haven't forgiven yourself for a lot of things that you've encountered, you will never be able to forgive someone fully on the outside of yourself. So how do you begin with forgiveness? I'm going to read from page 3 of The Keys to Happiness. The first key, forgiveness, which means to lose the person in thought and memory from all association with the wrong committed against us. We are to treat that person as though no wrong had been done at all, to sever all connections between the wrongdoer and the wrongdoing. This willful, conscious choice takes place in our soul. This is the way God gives us daily remembering no more the wrong we have done and loving us as though we had never sinned against himself. Those who practice forgiveness lose themselves as well as the wrongdoer that they had blamed. So what that basically means is that we have to forgive ourselves from even things that we've done. Let's just say, I know for myself, I say to myself, I'm going to do this or that. I'm going to promise myself that I'm going to stick to this diet. I don't diet, but I'm going to promise myself I'm going to stick to this plan. And I veer off the plan. Well, I forget when I veer off and I beat myself up about the plan. Oh, I didn't stick to it. I'm always lying to myself. And instead of forgiving yourself and saying, oh, I forgive myself for making that plan. Now what do? Now I have to take a step back and say nothing until you complete that step. So if my step was in my plan was to write every day and I skip a day, but I write the next day, I said, okay, in order to fulfill this plan of writing every day, I have to say it doesn't have to be a paragraph. It could be a sentence. It could even be a just one word, statement. But you've written for the day, and we sometimes beat ourselves up because it's not a bunch of things that we've written. I know I have, but most of the time when I do write, I write little statements, and then I put them all together later on, and I'm so amazed at sometimes when I'm writing that these things come about. And without forgiveness and without realigning my forgiveness with myself first, I couldn't realign my forgiveness with someone else. So let's look at the bigger picture now. Some of us talk about God, some of us talk about the universe, some of us talk about the higher being, the higher power, and different religious deities. We talk about that. Let's talk about how that deity or that being or that power every day puts up with millions and millions of people and different corners of the world, and still rains the same rain, sun shines the same sun, gives the moon shining the same way. We all are afforded those pleasantries that this earth has. So that would give you a good example of forgiveness, how forgiveness really blossoms, is that we're all afforded this beautiful atmosphere of the world, of the sun, the rain, the water, the beaches, the moon, the stars. We're afforded all these beautiful things. Yet we don't think about forgiveness as that. Well, grace is that forgiveness. that's not even spoken of. It's like, oh, it happened, but I have a new day to try to fix that. So if we approach forgiveness for ourselves, in ourselves, for ourselves, we eliminate the harshness, the things that hold us back, the fear. We eliminate barriers for ourselves. So forgiveness really is eliminating the barrier, because we know that we're limitless. But when we do not forgive ourselves, or we don't forgive others, we limit what our abilities are, really, basically. So how do we make ourselves happy in all of this? Is that we learn to forgive ourselves for not taking those steps, for getting in a relationship that failed, and say, I forgive myself. Yeah, I didn't see this coming, or I did see this coming, and take responsibility and say, yeah, I saw that happen. I saw this, but I caused myself this. Now let me get myself out. Because forgiveness is not just saying I forgive myself. It's actually being actionable in what you do, in the responsibility to move forward. So what are you doing in that forgiveness? I forgive myself for not knowing. Now, am I going to sit here and just stay and remain in that same situation? No, because that is what happens when you are abused. What happens when you're traumatically assaulted, because you stay and you remain and you don't forgive yourself. So what does that do? It's like a brick. What it does is every day you go over and over and over what you could have done, what you should have done, what you would have done, what perhaps may have happened, or if you would have took another route, or you go through all of these things, and each time you do that and not forgive yourself, you take a brick and you start stockpiling it, one upon the other, one upon the other. And pretty soon the bricks start to come up, and then it's in your purview. You can't see past it. So you're now built a walling yourself off from everything else. So it not only just like stops you from forgiving yourself and seeing yourself and helping yourself, it also limits you in your forgiveness of others. So forgiveness has a myriad of repercussions involved in it. It has so much. I can't impress upon you how, when I was going through healing process in my own life, that if I did not apply forgiveness, which was one of the first keys in my life, because I couldn't see about anybody else. No matter how much I wanted to, I could not take care of anyone else. I couldn't even work effectively without forgiveness. See, forgiveness is a blanket, and it covers every part of your life, because you cover every part of your life. So how can you serve well in a business, or in your career, or in your profession, or at work, or on a job effectively, if you have not forgiven yourself? And a lot of us, and I know I've done it, go into a line of a career because this happened to me. So when I was sexually abused and had sexual trauma, and I was going through all those issues, I said, well, when I get older, I'm going to help other people. So when it was time for me to do that, and I did that, I wasn't as effective as I could have been, because I didn't forgive myself. I didn't take responsibility. Okay, this happened to me. What am I doing now to fix it? And what am I doing to tell the truth about it? Because let me just tell you that you doing things on top of what you haven't forgiven yourself for, or on top of errors that you have made, doesn't make it any better. It does not get better. All it does is keeps bringing you back to that same issue. Each time it brings you right back until you open the right door. So it's like, I know that I was not ready to be married. But because I believe a blanket statement that every woman should get married, I don't examine myself and say, why did I do that? And then I didn't take responsibility on my part to say, listen, I had my own mind. I didn't have to do that. It was easier for me because it made things easier, basically. It made things easier. I didn't have to hear my mother's mouth. I didn't have to hear the pastor of my church saying this, and that. So it made it easier for me not to hear them. And I got married knowing full well this was going to be a very bumpy ride, that I could not change a person. I could not make anything better. So now I've taken responsibility, and I now have to say, not only realizing what I've done and my part in the trajectory of it all, I then have to take responsibility and say, Edna, I forgive you for being lazy and saying, not using my own brain. I forgive you for not wanting to have conflict with other people. But I know it better now, and I will think for myself. I am able to make a great decision for my life. I am able to choose the right man for my life. So once I do that, I've taken responsibility. I've asked myself, not someone else on the outside of me, but I've asked myself to forgive myself, which includes my soul, my spirit, and my ego. Because most of the time, the reason why we do not ask for forgiveness first from ourselves, then to other people, has to do with ego. It absolutely has to do with it. So our ego prevents us, which is one of those, it's not even a brick. I think what it is really is now it's a screen, an illusion. So it's an illusion. Ego is the illusion that all of this will be okay as long as I pay it forward and I do such and such for this area, or I volunteer over here, or I give to this person, or I do extra for that person that I hurt. When all it really needs to be done is I take responsibility in hurting you. I take responsibility for making this part of your life, and I apologize. I'm doing this to get me right, so this will never happen again. You see how forgiveness works? We think that forgiveness, and we've agreed that forgiveness is just, I forgive you, and there's no more responsibility on your part. Well, if that's the case, then why would it be that all the people that we've ever heard of have always gone back and did work on themselves in order to not to repeat it? Those that have not done the work have always repeated the cycle. See, we have to learn to take responsibility on what we do. We don't want to do that, because then that takes us being responsibility for other people. Because when you do something, it's a ripple effect and it hurts other people involved. So how do I fix all of that? I fix me first by offering forgiveness and grace to myself. Then I offer forgiveness and grace to other people. Then I ask for forgiveness from other people that I've injured along the way. It's not enough to say I've changed. Look here, over here, I've changed. It's not enough for that. It's more important that you address what you've done. And you know, I've had my ex-husbands, people that I've known ask for forgiveness, and they'll say, well, can you forgive me for, I said, yeah, forgive you for what? There has to be a reason. It can't be just like a blanket statement. It's got to be, please forgive me for hurting your feelings on Tuesday in 1974. And I've also had people call me up that I didn't even remember that have done things to me, and really heartfeltly said to me, you know, I apologize. for what I've done in your life. I hurt you, and you're an amazing person. And it kind of takes you aback that that a person would call, but they're believing in themselves, they've forgiven themselves, and then now they're able, that wall, an illusion of that ego has kind of come down and said, now you have to apologize to the person you hurt. It's a lot of work, but then it's not a lot of work, because if you want to be righteous, not right, you will want to have all of these things corrected in your life. You will want these things to be right. You will want to be able to laugh from your gut. You will want to be happy. You want to be smiling from your heart. So those things will help you. First key, no matter what anyone says, is forgiveness to yourself first. Then to other people that you've hurt along the way, that if you've made mistakes, if they even said things about, you have to go to them, because everything outside of unforgiveness is fake. So you can say that you're a changed person, but your responsibility, part of forgiveness, is to not be fake about it and say, I apologize for what I've done wrong in your life. And I know, and you know what you've done wrong. Your ego does not allow you to say it, but you know what you've done. You know you are a contributing factor to whatever is going on in that person's life, whatever troubles that they're having. You know that you're part of that, and you know that, and you have to get that right. Just not right, because righteous means that you take responsibility. Right means one side or the other. Righteous means you take responsibility with no side intended. So, going back to the keys to happiness, which is the book that I've written, I want you to take forgiveness seriously and take it by the horns and work on yourself. At the same time, when you're dealing with forgiveness, remember, the second key is grace, and it goes along with it. It's the covering for all of it. It's the unexpected plan that unfolds during the day. You know, that unfolds with the moon coming up at night, unfolds when the sun rises. It's that grace. So remember, forgiveness is very important. Write it down, work on it, because our lives deserve, working on. And write down, journal. When I was beginning my healing process, most definitely journaling was for me. So pick up my book. It's on Amazon, and it's called The Keys to Happiness. It used to be called The Keys to the Kingdom, but now it's called Keys to Happiness, because I've lived it, and I'm so excited about what it brings. This is Edna J. White. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Please leave a comment at the bottom of here, at the bottom of the stream. Let me know what you think. If there's any topics you want to talk about, by all means, join me. This is Edna J. White on Miss Edna Speaks. Have a great day.